Okay, let's go ahead and start. Ashley, will you kick us off?
No problem. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the quarterly meeting for the Chicagoland Workforce Healthcare Collaborative. My name is Ashley Cassiello, and I'm the Senior Consultant for Workforce Development at UChicago Medicine. And I'm also a member of the CHWC Steering Committee. So the CHWC mission is to unite employers and industry partners to support an inclusive healthcare workforce, provide accessibility for an employed and underemployed populations, and develop innovative responses to the evolving needs within the healthcare industry. Our strategic priorities are education and training, local and targeted hiring, and retention and career pathways. And a little bit of history, CHWC follows a sector partnership model led by employer partners within the collaborative. Our steering committee consists of 6 individuals at different employer hospitals, and the group was originally launched in 2016. So the model has us supported, even though our business leaders, our employers, our healthcare partners are at the main table. We're supported by a community of our public partners and CBOs. We have a number of partners that kind of fall into these different categories, whether it's our healthcare employers, including Advocate Aurora Health, Amita Health. It's a long list, so I'll let you take a look at it at your leisure. I won't go through it all. We also have a number of strategic partners and funding partners who are helping us fulfill the goals of this collaborative. So for today's schedule, providing the welcome right now. Soon after, we'll have an update on the P3 workforce program with Advocate Sinai and UCM. We'll have an introduction to career pathway mapping project proposal that's on the table. There'll be a recap of our recent industry convenings about youth pathways, adult pathways, and inclusive talent acquisition. And then at the end, we'll have partner announcements. And so now there we go. So the schedule in the next upcoming months, in September, right now, we have our quarterly meeting, and we're looking to refine our project ideas going forward. In October, we plan to launch action committees to carry out these projects. In November, we plan to have the steering committee host a mini retreat to refine our vision, strategy, success metrics, and our 2022 goals. December, we'll have our Q4 quarterly meeting and present this refined set of strategies and our 2022 goals. And then January through March, first quarter of next year, we'll have a relaunch celebration event for the CHWC. If any of you have been a part of this collaborative for longer, even though we did launch in 2016, there had been a little bit of downtime due to COVID and some changes in the employer partners. And so really want to celebrate the fact that we are kicking off again and ready to get to work. So with that, I'll hand it over to David to give us an update on the P3 project.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Sukanik. I am the project manager for Bridge Initiative Chicago, the P3 Workforce Development Initiative. Thank you, April, for the invitation to speak to you all this morning. I know a few of you, most of you I don't, but it's very nice to be here and to be able to talk to you about this exciting initiative. All right, I have a couple of slides that I will share. Okay, let's see. There we are. Okay. The Bridge Initiative Chicago was a grant that was originally funded starting in 2020, 2-year grant. And it's a consortium of these three major health systems: Advocate Aurora Health, Sinai Health Systems, and University of Chicago Medicine. It's funded by JP Morgan Chase Foundation. And like I said, it was a 2-year grant, but then COVID hit and turned the world upside down. So now we're extending it. We're hopefully going to extend it for 1 more year. So we'll have the full grant period to be able to put together and deliver this mission. The purpose is to design, implement, and evaluate a 3-tiered workforce development solution to increase successful placement of new hires and support the advancement of incumbent workers throughout the healthcare sector. So it's an exciting idea, which the purpose is really to boost awareness, skills, and advancements within the healthcare sector, especially within underserved and underexposed populations in the south and southwest side of Chicago, especially with people of color. So that is it's an exciting mission, but even more so because it represents the collaboration of what is sometimes viewed as competing healthcare systems, and it brings resources together and puts minds together, and it really shows that we could do so much more when we come together and we serve the community in a collaborative way. So that is the goal of the grant. So the 3-tiered system is, there's 3 tracks. Healthcare Forward is the community track, Evolve is the incumbent track, and Rise Higher is the leadership track. And what this really means is that we're viewing this as a continuum and bringing people in who haven't been exposed or aware that healthcare presents an opportunity, a career opportunity for them. So it's to publicize and motivate the broader community to consider healthcare as a career. And then once they're in, or even for people who are already in the system, maybe they're in a low level or starting position. And what the second track looks to do, Evolve, is to help them develop new skills and help them progress to middle level roles. And then for those people who maybe already occupy middle level roles, to get them to think bigger and to rise higher, as the name implies, and to get them thinking about leadership roles. So, going a little bit into what these 3 tracks are meant to do. So the community track, like we said, is to increase engagement and awareness. So really that's going to look like it's a publicity campaign at its core, and definitely at the beginning, it's a broad outreach to the community through all types of media, engaging public figures, as well as community partners. And these community organizations, which already have credibility and have reach within the community, are going to be able to get the word out and then be able to advance the purpose by actually delivering the by delivering the material and the curriculum and being able to execute it. The goal of the community track is to get 300 participants completing the goal by the end of the grant period, and we're looking to launch in November. What that launch is going to look like is we're going to be launching a website with a lot of interesting and exciting features, and hopefully you can be able to do a lot of education and bringing awareness to bring people into this field. The goal also of this is, as is the case with all these three tracks, is to be very practical and have a tangible result, and in the form of a guaranteed interview. So if someone says, you know what, I want to try this out. I want to go through this preliminary type of training, and they could be assured that at the end of it, they will get the opportunity to apply for a job. It's not a guaranteed job, but it's a guaranteed chance at an interview, which is very important, because sometimes people start something, but then they become disheartened if it kind of if it doesn't have a clear goal. So the point is really to be motivating and to let them know that if they start and if they apply themselves, they really could find a satisfying result to their efforts. The Incumbent track, so it's helping people move up. Again, it's personnel in lower level entry roles. Maybe it's food service, maybe it's different entry roles, and they never really thought of themselves as being able to have a higher level career. So this introduces them to how to step up and how to raise their skill level so that they would be qualified for something that's a little bit more advanced. So examples of careers that we're suggesting and that we'd be able to help them train for is patient service representative, IT help desk, medical billing, and insurance verification, community health worker, and to show them that these are really all within their reach. So again, the purpose here is to be very practical, is to help them increase their skills, and the curriculum is crafted to give them specific skill sets based on the career they're looking to pursue. It also helps them assess where their interests and their abilities might best place them. So this is an important part, so they could see themselves. What first of all, what does a career in this path look like, and also how am I suited based on my personality and characteristics, and that's gonna be helpful as they go forward. And again, the goal is to get them and actually to prepare them. Part of it at the end, the last couple weeks, is preparing them with mock interviews, job shadows, like really hands-on, tangible ways that they can envision themselves in this role, and helping them succeed at attaining it and maintaining it, hopefully, when if they're able to get there. Along the same lines is the goal of Evolve is to get 80 participants to complete the course in a series of cohorts that we're going to be rolling out. In a similar vein is the Rise Higher, the leadership track, which is also to get people to think bigger. And maybe they have been focusing, they have a certain technical skill set, but they haven't considered that maybe they have leadership qualities that could be applied and to help the bigger picture. And this kind of makes them aware of that, and also gives them specific skills, whether in management, whether in project development, which is going to help them think about where they can go and also guide them on the path to be able to get there. That one is going to be rolled out. UCM is going to be rolling that out in January as a first cohort. And the goal is to have 90 participants to complete the course by the end of the grant period, which, again, as I said, hopefully we're extending the grant period to the end of 2022 or maybe the first quarter of 23. And these are the goals for these three tracks. So each of them has a very specific and important goal, a specific targeted audience and constituency. All of them together create really the mission and the theme that we're looking to further, which is getting people to think about what they can contribute in a healthcare role. Maybe they never have before, or maybe they've somehow thought they were limited and didn't think they'd be able to to reach higher than they are, and to encourage them to do so, and thereby benefiting them, their future, and the healthcare industry as a whole. So I'm happy to take questions. And also, this is my email address, and please feel free to reach out with any questions, and we could to discuss this this program further. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. Does anyone have questions? Feel free to just jump in. Well, I'll start. Thank you. This is such a interesting project. I love the fact that it's really bringing up people from within too and into leadership. I wonder, David, could you share a little bit more about the community track and the website, and what are you focusing on certain types of positions with that track? The purpose of the website, the content of the website, what does that look like? I'm just interested in a little more detail there.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're collaborating with Win-Win, and they are actually right now developing that website, and it's still yet to be determined exactly what it's going to look like, but really the focus is gonna be to just make the idea of a healthcare career very tangible, very accessible, and give clear steps as to what they could do in order to explore further. So I guess I can't really answer your question in full yet, but I know we have a great team working on it, and hopefully we'll be able to see what that's going to look like the next few weeks.
Hi, good morning. This is Roy Walker at Malcolm X College. I was wondering, could you give me a little more insight to the curriculum, specifically around the medical billing and community health worker you mentioned before?
Yeah, I don't have the curriculum details, but when that is when we do, I'd be happy to share it with you, Roy. So these things are all being produced now. So we're rolling out the first cohort of Evolve, of the community health worker related program in the next month or so, and Jerry and the rest of the AAH team are working on that. So I don't have it in front of me, but again, I look forward to sharing it when we do.
No, thank you. I totally understand.
Any other questions before we move on?
So April, while I don't have a lot, I guess I don't have a lot of details as to what these in the actual material, the curriculum, but I definitely would love to be able to share it in the next couple months as it gets rolled out.
Thank you so much. Yes, I think we all appreciated just hearing this high-level oversight on this very expansive program. It's very exciting. So keep us up to date. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. And I
Thank
think
you so much.
Some interesting, I'm excited to see how things go, because I think there are a lot of interesting learnings that could come from those programs that we could possibly, expand and apply to our larger system through CHWC.
As are we, and that's really the goal. The goal is to pilot these and then to keep them going, hopefully after the grant period, and to expand their accessibility to Chicagoland and beyond, hopefully.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for being here.
Thanks very much. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thanks. I'll move on. I am very excited today to share with you a program that has been in the works since we sort of relaunched back at the beginning of this year. I am going to drop a project proposal document in the chat so you can read along there. This relates to career pathway mapping, which we've been talking about since the beginning of this year. So first I'll take a step back and talk about where this came from. So some of you may remember that we had an employer-only visioning session at the beginning of this year in February, where we came together to explore the unique value of CHWC and to identify the system challenges that we are best suited to address through this particular model. So at that session, we developed a prioritization framework to help guide us in deciding what kinds of issues we wanted to tackle together. And in that, we decided that we wanted to tackle workforce problems that allow us to share and learn from each other, allow us to leverage our collective voice, that support the community by providing access to employment and training, that leverage our combined brain power and provide thought leadership, that actually lead to innovative solutions and tangible resources, and that of course are employer-led. And I think this project hits on all of these values, which is why I'm so excited about it. At that session, we also generated some problem statements related to the challenges that we're facing in the healthcare workforce system in Chicagoland. And we voted on those statements to decide which ones were most appropriate for us to address within this table. So some of the top statements included this focus on upskilling community residents, the fact that there's not enough awareness of healthcare careers, not enough students are coming out of particular programs. We feel that we need a stronger feedback loop between our training systems and employers. And we want to pull resources to fund, to fund pathway programs. And we also talked about the fact that there might be a lack of college readiness among some of our candidates and people that we're recruiting, and that the prereqs are misaligned. Then after we had that session, we convened a smaller group to unpack the top problem statement, which was about upskilling residents. So again, we had some of those similar discussions about needing to demystify healthcare career pathways. We talked about the fact that employees and residents are not always accessing pathways because they may lack basic skills, and they might lack the resources or the time or just the awareness of the opportunities. We had a conversation around requirements for some positions being, possibly unnecessary or outdated. Perhaps we are, eliminating what could be great candidates based on our requirements and job descriptions. And we also had a conversation about career pathways possibly not being clear, not logical, not standard, maybe within our systems and certainly across our various systems. And therefore they're difficult to communicate. So they're difficult to promote to job seekers and to incumbent workers. We talked about solutions. We brainstormed around coaching programs and mentoring programs. We talked about job rotation and on-the-job training and career fairs. But we kept coming back to this idea or this challenge that these career paths are not clear and they're not communicated. And what could we do about that? So we came up with this idea that maybe we need some sort of resource that maps out healthcare career pathways. So it shows a job seeker or an incumbent worker, that if you are in this position or you're interested in this position, this is the training that will get you there. And then from there, here's the training and the associated time and resources involved that will get you to the next step. And then here's another step. So essentially, this is a resource that would allow someone to envision a progressive pathway along a career ladder. As many of you know, we had a medical assistant pathways industry convening, and we hosted that in part to unpack some of the learnings from our medical assistant pathway program. And that program was a great success, is a great success, currently being carried out by Westside United, but also had its challenges. And one that we noticed is that some of the participants who had been in non-clinical roles in your hospital systems, once they were becoming medical assistants, didn't see a wage increase or didn't see enough of a wage increase. Therefore, some of those participants didn't take a medical assisting position. I have heard that some were disappointed to learn that they weren't further along in their journey to becoming a nurse, that would take going back to school and sort of starting over again. We also heard in that convening that there are a lot of different ideas around what a career ladder for a medical assistant is. Should a medical assistant be aspiring to become a nurse, be aspiring to become an administrative or managerial role, or a different type of clinical role? Perhaps all of those are possibilities, but which are the most logical or the easiest to pursue? And I also noticed through my preparation for that event and the many conversations that I had around this occupation is that there seems to be differing opinions around whose job it is to expose medical assistants to career ladders. Is it the training partner's responsibility to be exposing medical assistants while they're becoming medical assistants to their upward career trajectory, or to be following up with them? Is it the employer's responsibility to show internal pathways, or is it someone else? Is it up to the job seeker? I heard a lot of different opinions about that. So I've put together this project proposal, which addresses those challenges that we've been talking about. We'll talk about the industry convenings in a moment, but you'll also see that some of the things that came up with the industry convenings are also addressed in this project proposal. The purpose overall is to advance more entry-level clinical workers into middle and advanced skilled roles. So there are two components of this project. One is research-based, and in that, we want to figure out what is currently happening on the ground. Are entry-level clinical workers moving into middle skill roles and advanced skill roles? And we'll compile findings around that and recommendations. The second part is to create some real tangible resources. So similar to perhaps this website that we were just talking about with David with the Bridge Initiative. How can we create some tangible resources that allow job seekers and incumbent employees to understand their possibilities to advance throughout healthcare careers? So one of those could be through careerpathways.net and their Pathway Builder tool. But we can also explore other types of resources that are most applicable to use within your health systems, within CPS, city colleges, other training partners, other workforce development partners, and community organizations. I'm taking a focus on clinical roles to begin with. That is purely just to continue on many of the conversations that we've already had, and also to have a specific scope within this project. If it's successful, perhaps we could go back and open up this activity to non-clinical roles. And I want to build pathways from 3 to 6 of our entry-level clinical positions into middle and advanced skill roles. In order for this to be successful, we have to engage at least 3 hospital systems in order for our findings to reflect a big enough portion of our system. I'm really hoping that we get at least 5 or more employer partners to sign on. And this will be a consultant-led project, but it will require some staff time, obviously. by those employer partners that choose to take part, and access to their data and some of their employees. So as I mentioned, there are 3 essentially stages. One is to explore a research question through data collection and review of internal strategies, perhaps comparing job descriptions and surveying entry-level and middle-skill workers to incorporate real worker voice into this research. A second step would be developing these career pathway maps, and we can do that within careerpathways.net in the Pathway Builder or through other resources. Perhaps there's an opportunity to join this website that is being launched by the Bridge Initiative. And then, of course, we will compile research findings and give recommendations for system improvement. The central question here that we'll be researching is, how often are entry-level clinical workers in Chicagoland's health systems moving into these middle-skilled and living wage jobs in healthcare? So what's working and what's not? So when they are moving up, what is enabling them to move up? And then when they're not, why is that? Is it because we don't have enough middle-skilled roles? Is it because the career ladders are not well developed or they're inconsistent? Is it because we don't have enough training opportunities, or those training opportunities are inaccessible to people who are currently working? Or is it just because employees lack awareness of these opportunities, or something else? And then these findings will help us understand how we can expand strategies that are working, and how can we use pathway mapping tools and resources to help more employees advance. So here you'll see short-term, middle-term, and long-term goals. I hope in the short term that we can create these simple, relatable pathway maps. And this is taken straight from that document that I dropped in the chat, that reflect opportunities across the whole system. So if we have these tools that we can push out that reflect the entire system, we can really use our collective voice to do outreach and do industry awareness, instead of just doing them as individual systems where positions might be named different things, career pathways might look a little bit different. The goal of this is to create something that is somewhat reflective of the entire system and push that out through all of our networks. We want to better understand employee perceptions around their healthcare career pathways. Perhaps these assumptions are incorrect, and we're not understanding what employee needs to move forward. And in this, we will discover strategies that are working well, and I hope that that will lead to increased funding and increased opportunities to expand those strategies. On the other hand, I also think we'll discover more system challenges. We'll just have a lot more information to understand what we need to do to create a more inclusive healthcare workforce, which will lead to additional funding opportunities and projects that CHWC will pursue. So in the middle term, I think we'll be able to leverage that collective voice and do more outreach and awareness together as an entire system. Hopefully we'll have information that will allow us to build new programs to advance incumbent workers. And in that, we'll be able to align employers and training providers in the promotion of those career pathways. Ultimately, what we want to do here is increase retention, increase advancement of your entry-level clinical employees into those in-demand, middle, and advanced skill roles. And I hope that that will also allow us to attract more candidates for entry-level roles, in that you're promoting the fact that there are these opportunities to advance. I think that this will, help gain the backing of some of our community organizations, our public partners, our education partners, in that they'll be more comfortable promoting certain occupations, knowing that they will lead to a progressive career ladder. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is also about equity and racial diversity. We know that a lot of people in these entry-level clinical roles are people of color, are women, and this will allow us to increase diversity on our middle skilled and advanced skilled roles. And also, we'll also be able to have more role models of people who have gone through these career pathways, which can help us with our youth outreach and exposing these career pathways to the new generations. So I'm going to stop there. Ask if you have questions about this, this proposal. Also welcome any feedback. And really at this stage, what I would like to do is have our CHWC employers consider whether this is a project you would like to participate in. And this is a working document. It's a working proposal. So it can change based on your concerns or needs. And I'm hoping within the next month or two to recruit 3 to 5 or more than 5 CHWC employers, put together a project committee so that we can refine this proposal, hire a consultant, refine this methodology in a way that makes that everyone is comfortable with, and then move forward. So I am going to stop talking and stop sharing and ask for any questions and comments. Or any employer could speak up and let me know, or do you think you'd be interested in this? If not, what are your concerns?
Hi, it's Mary Schmidt from Midwestern Career College. I just have a comment on this, April. First of all, I think that it is a very well thought out plan. What I appreciate about it is that it's very nuanced. There are many reasons why people don't pursue higher education or are not successful when they do. I know as a college, and I'm sure Rhonda and my friends at Malcolm X can agree that many people start programs with great intentions and life can completely get in the way. So when you're if this committee is formed, I hope that you're able to, look at it from, a very deeper level in terms of some of the barriers that people experience, whether it's childcare, work schedules, sufficient elevation by going through the program of choice so that they can be successful and can be successful for the employer partners.
Thank you, Mary. Betsy, is this the slide you're referring to?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, and Betsy, I'll share the link to the proposal document again, since you probably can't access that. Yeah, I'd also be interested in hearing, from our other training and community partners, your thoughts on this idea. I've already talked to the steering committee and talked to some other employers about this proposal and refined it based on their feedback, but I haven't put it in front of any of our strategic partners. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on how this would be impactful for you and for your students or your constituents, on perhaps ideas for ways that it could be more impactful, or concerns that you have.
Hi, this is Tamar from Upwardly Global, and we work with skilled immigrants and refugees. And I think this is so fascinating because it's certainly an area, when we're working with internationally trained doctors and they're struggling and they're, thinking to get jobs as medical assistants because the relicensing process is so cumbersome and in many cases just impossible. It would be lovely to have some more ideas of how, starting at a medical assistant would be a pathway. So that's something we are talking a lot within our program, within our national healthcare team, about pathways and how medical assistant roles fit. So I'm really excited about this work and would be happy to help in any way that I can.
Thank you, Tamar. That's promising. Thank you.
Hi, April. I have a question. This is Betsy from UCM, and I apologize. I joined right around 9 o'clock, so might have missed this before. What would be the process of identifying in what different occupations would we start to map out career paths? You know, whether we choose clinical or IT or outside of those areas, I mean, what would that look like?
Great question, Betsy. My vision right now is to stick with clinical positions and to determine those specific occupations with the group of employers who are interested in participating. So once we have some employers on board, have that discussion around, what are the largest roles, that are filled by the largest number of people across your systems that are entry-level clinical. And also I'll point out too, that entry-level, middle skill, advanced skill, I've done some work to figure out, how should we define those? But I feel I've found some sort of inconsistencies in how people define those roles. So another part of that committee's role would be to define that, to say, what do we mean by an entry-level clinical role? What do we mean by a middle skill? But start with 3 to 6 entry-level clinical roles that exist in all of those systems that sign on to this project. So perhaps like nursing assistant might be an obvious choice. But it would be a discussion at that committee level.
Thanks, April. I think as I reflect on that, what's critical is that the career paths have certain levels that demand different types of education. So some that would require maybe no more than a high school diploma with certification, and then moving up towards associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree. But also I think we need to consider the pay for each of those occupations and making sure that the career map really does also include an increase in salary.
Yes, that's exactly one of the things that I was thinking about as I was looking at different definitions, that while something may require an associate's degree, it doesn't always pay more than something that requires a certificate. So that is a conversation I want to have at the committee level, is can we define these both in terms of training requirements and salary? Because just thinking about training requirements may sort of miss the boat, miss the mark. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Betsy.
Yeah, this is Alicia Boyd. I think that's a great point, because one of our to think about like mapping, especially when we were joining some career pathways with Westside United. The issue was typically that those additional certifications and training opportunities didn't necessarily equal additional pay, and it didn't seem worth it for some of our incumbent workers because they were seasoned workers, they were unionized, and so they have obtained that sort of middle level pay scale, but not necessarily had the skills and the credentials to match it. So it didn't really make sense. But I think this is a great opportunity, especially because of our strategic plan, is to sort of figure out what succession planning looks like within our organization, and not just on those high levels, but on some of those middle skill levels, from entry level to middle skill jobs. But I think our challenge will be determining what are those jobs, what is that career pathway where it will really make sense, and also not only benefit the organization, but benefit the incumbent.
Yeah, excellent points, Alicia. Any other questions or comments before we move on? At this stage, I would love for employer partners to talk about this proposal internally, come to me with questions and concerns. I'll be following up with our partners individually, but feel free to follow up with me before I follow up with you. Okay.
And April, are you going to send out this slide or maybe the proposal? I believe you said you uploaded it, but I'm on my mobile phone, so I probably don't have access to it. Can you email it so that we can have those internal conversations? Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, April. When are you looking to have the employers who want to participate make that decision?
So I have a rough timeline outlined in this proposal, which is by like the end of October to have our employer partners identified. Nothing is set in stone, and I think what's most important is that we get enough employers to sign on. So if it is going to take longer internally for you all to make this decision, then we will launch when we're all ready. But I would hope that we can have conversations with, the second half of September and October, and then form a committee. And this can still be refined in that committee. So there are decisions that have not been made yet, around which occupations we're looking at, around how we're going to define entry level and middle skill. So I'd like to, get employers at least interested in having those initial conversations. And if someone ends up dropping out, that happens, I understand. But to get together and refine this in a way that will be most beneficial to all of you and will be doable internally. I don't want us to all sign on to things that are going to be way too cumbersome to take on.
For sure. Thanks, April.
Okay, I'm going to move on. But I will email this out, and I will be following up individually with our different employers. If you are a strategic partner who is interested in weighing in, giving some feedback, participating in some way, also feel free to reach out to me. So now I want to move into these industry convenings that we held over the month of August. We had three, one on youth pathways and career awareness, one on adult and incumbent worker pathways, and one on inclusive talent acquisition. The goals of these events were to, first, to allow our employer partners to share your program models and your specific strategies in order to learn from each other's successes and also discuss shared challenges, and then identify some opportunities to collaborate through CHWC. And the Youth Pathways event went very well. I'm gonna pass it over to Angel to present that in just a moment. And we actually have some concrete ideas that we are going to form an action committee around and move forward on. And after Angel reviews that with us, I'll tell you what came up in the adult pathways and the inclusive talent acquisition convenings. And then I'd like us to discuss as a group some of the ideas that came up in those two events to see if we can identify another priority for CHWC to pursue moving forward. So Angel, could you take it away and share what we talked about in the youth event?
Sure, can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Angel Alcázar, and I am the Workforce Development Specialist at Lurie Children's Hospital. I'm also a member of the CHWC Steering Committee, and like April said, we're going to give you an overview of the Youth Pathway and Career Awareness Industry Convening that took place on the 19th of August. The hospitals that presented were Lurie Children's Hospital, Northwestern Medicine, Rush, and UI Health. A brief overview of our programmatic data so far. Lurie Children, so far this calendar year, we have served 350 youth, and we've had a total of 8 programs in session so far. And then any hospital partners, or April, feel free to interrupt me to clarify anything. And then Northwestern, that was presented by Mandy Polanski and Aaron Cohen, and they have their scholars program and their discovery program, and as well as college summer internships. And then Rush, Rakia talked about their high school and college paid work-based learning internships, and they've reached over 200 students. And then Kinga and O'Donnell's talked, represented UI Health, and they talked about their Champions Youth programs, volunteer programs, and internships and apprenticeships. Next slide, please. All right, so some of our shared keys to success are strong internal partnerships. So there's internal interest in creating and managing pipelines, strong external partnerships with other key organizations and stakeholders such as CPS, City Colleges of Chicago, and other hospital systems and partners. Pipeline planning and tracking, offering programs that cater to all ages, and tracking participants through each program. Having diverse and inclusive staff for student-facing programs, and overall wraparound supports. Next slide, please. Some of our shared challenges here were the transition to virtual programming during COVID-19. Along with that came a decreased student engagement and participation. We all know that it's different to be, face-to-face than it is to be via Zoom. Hospital restrictions as they relate to age and COVID, coordinating clinical and practicum opportunities for certifications, funding, our capacity for our staff, and recruiting more males, specifically Black and Latina males. Next slide, please. And then some ideas that we all came up with based on the dialogue for collaboration were to create a shared student-facing directory for our youth workforce development programs across all of our partners and CHWC health systems. And so what this means is having a referral system. If a student at UI Health is not eligible for an internship at UI Health at that moment, they can get referred to Lurie Children's or Rush or Northwestern, et cetera. To ensure that our students, get access to all the opportunities. And then the second idea for collaboration was to host a large one-day event that would allow all of our program alumni to network with one another and participate in professional development trainings, and to learn about all of our upcoming programs. We do have an action committee to carry out these two projects. So if you're interested in joining, please contact April so we can begin the planning part for this. And I think that's it, right, April?
Yep. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, I am about to schedule the first meeting of our action committee. Particularly if you are an employer partner who is engaged with youth workforce development or youth career awareness, I would love to have you join our committee. So just reach out to me and let me know. I'll also, of course, be reaching out to CPS and some of our other partners who really should be at that table. Any questions about that convening or those ideas before I move on? Okay. So we had two other convenings, and I'm going to share. I've put the link to our YouTube channel in the chat where you can view all three of these, and also just linked all of the slide decks. So at our adult and incumbent worker pathways convening, Ashley Casiello from U Chicago highlighted their nursing support assistant pathway program, which they do in partnership with Skills for Chicagoland's Future and City Colleges. Alicia Boyd from Cook County did an overview of their health information system pathway program for incumbent IT workers. They're actually doing that to help workers who were in positions that were going to be phased out retrain for new positions. And they do that in partnership with National Able, Westside United, and the partnership. And then Jerry Bach from Advocate Aurora highlighted their registered apprenticeships in culinary arts and facilities maintenance, which they do in Wisconsin and are bringing to Illinois. They are one of the systems that is using registered apprenticeships the most. So that was really interesting to learn about. At our inclusive talent acquisition event, Dana Anthony from Rush highlighted their anchor mission strategy and their strategies to partner with local organizations, in which they've created 16 local application hubs. And they also provide support services and professional development for candidates. And those are some of their strategies for inclusive talent acquisition. And then Kinga and Odanis at UI Health presented their very unique volunteer services program, where they have a pool of over 700 volunteers, many from local communities where UI Health is situated. And through that volunteer program, they gain career exposure and job shadowing opportunities. And they also access a suite of professional workshop webinar series. So I encourage all of you to look at those slides, look at those YouTube recordings to learn more about these programs. Very similar to what came out of the Youth Pathways event, we learned that partnering with others, good internal and external partnerships is so important. So partnering with committed local organizations who can actually reach communities and provide that wraparound support was a key to success. An internal stakeholder buy-in was huge. That came up time and again. Someone talked about working very closely with recruitment staff and hiring managers through the hiring and onboarding process when targeting inclusive hiring, so that you can help keep those mission-minded strategies front of mind with that other staff, with recruitment staff and hiring managers. Many challenges. We talked about the fact that there aren't enough candidates applying for entry-level positions right now. One of the problems is that candidates might not be qualified for roles. And this conversation came up again, that are we perhaps requiring too much out of our candidates? Do we have too many years of experience in our requirements? Do we have some unnecessary requirements that are excluding who could be great candidates for these roles? We also talked about both candidates and incumbent employees perhaps lacking soft skills or needing more soft skills training. Again, we talked about how residents are not aware of career healthcare opportunities or how to access training. Someone talked about how hired candidates might not last very long because the job isn't what they expected or what they anticipated. When doing incumbent worker pathway programs, we talked about the fact that workers who have been out of school for a long time, it might be a real challenge to get them academically prepared to go back to school and participate in those pathway programs. In these pathway programs that involve several partners, sometimes managing those partner relationships can be challenging and time consuming to make sure everyone is on the same page and working towards the same goals. We also talked about how WIOA funding requirements might limit our applicant pool and lengthens the screening process. And finally, we talked about how apprenticeships can be difficult to set up or daunting to set up, especially in unionized settings, and that there is a lack of successful model healthcare apprenticeship programs to learn from, particularly in the state of Illinois. And with that point, I'll lead us to our first idea for collaboration, which is to learn more about apprenticeship models from other states and cities, perhaps learn more about how apprenticeships work in Illinois, learn about new models. With that, I am in the process of planning a specific apprenticeship industry convening. I have some ideas about what types of information would be most beneficial at that convening, but if anyone has any input or would like to present or has some specific topics they think need to be discussed around apprenticeship, please feel free to reach out. You'll hear from me soon about a date within the next couple of months for that event. Another idea that came up several times over both convenings was coordinating our outreach and recruitment efforts. In some ways using our collective voice to reach community members, to expand career awareness of healthcare careers. So that came up in ideas like having a career fair or having some kind of collective pipeline or talent pool of people who have been through CHWC programs, but other ideas, other ways of using our collective voice came up. Another one is to build a professional program, so to bring people up the ladder through pathways into advanced skill roles with bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. We also talked about sharing our data on hard to fill and high turnover roles and building programs for those roles. That reflects what CHWC has done in the past, and perhaps we need to take a step back and do that again. We also talked about creating an endorsement, a certification from CHWC for people who have been through our pathway programs. And in our steering committee meeting, we talked through that idea a little bit more, and we thought, perhaps it's not people who have been through our pathway programs, but perhaps there's another use for an endorsement or certification. Maybe we could relate that to some sort of competency-based assessments. I don't know. And then another thing we talked a lot about was supporting sustainable soft skills training. And I know this comes up a lot in various conversations across our systems, are the need for soft skills. And this is not only supporting employees and their development of soft skills, but also supporting employers and their understanding of what soft skills are, what it means to have soft skills requirements or expectations in an inclusive environment, and how to be cultural, how to administer soft skills training and require soft skills in a way that is culturally competent. So what I'd like to do now is the apprenticeship convening is already happening. We're moving forward on that. I'd like to unpack this second idea a little bit more, since that one came up the most in these two industry convenings. And then at the end, I'll go back to those other ideas and see if we have any opinions on those. So I'd like to just open up a discussion right now about how we can collaborate on community outreach, recruitment, and industry awareness through CHWC. So I'm interested in activity ideas. Do you like the idea of a career fair, of some sort of portal, of an applicant pool? Are there other ways that we could leverage our collective voice to get in front of communities? I'd also be interested in hearing from our community partners and our training partners about, what would be beneficial in terms of employers coming together to get in front of your students and your constituents. Is there a way that would be beneficial? So I'm going to drop this. I'm going to put this question in the chat, so we have it, and then I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Anyone feel free to jump in.
This is Betsy from UCM. One of the more, I think, benefits of this working group is the ability to attract funding. I think a lot of us know what needs to be done, but may not always have the dedicated funds or resources to move forward with the work. And I think this group has been successful in having projects exist because of external funding. So to do that, you have to prove that there is a problem to solve, right? And that we have good data that isn't just one system. It's relevant across an entire Chicagoland community. So I think the efforts to make sure to create kind of the business case for investment is one of the benefits that come out of collaborating through this group.
Thanks, Betsy. Do you or anyone else have any ideas on like concrete activities that we could do to do community outreach to increase career awareness and recruitment? Events, resources. Partnerships with
I think starting with schools is probably a little bit more attainable. You know, there are already group settings where you're reaching out to a specific community, where, you know, finding, building an event might be a little bit more feasible than trying to reach out to an unstructured community. So that would be my recommendation, is to leverage the high schools and the different already created communities around us.
right. And I think a lot of our systems are already, you know, partnering with high schools, partnering with CPS to do industry awareness. Is there a way that we could make it easier for everyone, or make, you know, combine our efforts, our collective voice to have this benefit the entire system, and also at the same time, you know, sort of alleviate that burden from individual systems?
Hi, good morning. This is Jeremy Oberfeld from the Midwestern Career College. What we often do at our institution is have informational sessions, either for high school students or other community members, to educate them about alternative careers in healthcare. So I think it would be very helpful if all the members here can help promote those events, because I know there are quite a few individuals who walk through various hospitals and clinics who have family members or themselves may be interested in retraining themselves, or also guiding their kids or siblings, you know, to pursue various careers. So I think it will give a lot more visibility and attract more individuals to explore various options. And of course, periodically, if some of the folks here or can refer somebody who can speak up to various professions, whether it's medical assisting or surgical technology or various others, it would give a lot more credibility to those sessions and attract more individuals.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Someone else about to speak.
Good morning, April and everyone. This is Chanel with Westside United. When I was with the Rush TA team, I would host various sessions to engage not only high school students, but we had a session with Chicago State University. You know, it was a panel discussion of Rush professionals about what is it like to engage in the Rush culture and work for Rush. How was, you know, that professional's career path played out. We had simulation lab tours, and I'm saying that to say, you know, in Bessie's mentioning targeting a specific group to start with. So if you wanted to start with high schools or youth groups, developing a cohesive marketing plan and key events around, and this is something that I've been working on with the Westside United HR work group, is how do we rebrand employment in healthcare? It looks very different now, post-COVID, for one. And then secondly, how do we really get the information out to the community? What does it look like to work in our organizations? Even, you know, a PCT is one thing here, a CNA is one thing there. You know, what's the cohesion? Can we provide that information? If you want to enter in, this is the way that you go. It could be a series of town hall meetings, if that's the correct term, or panel events, or as people move back into in-person events, can we develop workshops at each organization? I don't know. I'm just throwing out the ideas out there of how, and sharing how I have engaged the community in the past. And it's really getting out of the office, getting in the community, and providing them as much upfront information. I'm very sure that Dana spoke on it when she talked about the Rush Application Hub, because that was the project in which I did a lot of this in, or we did a lot of this in. They have questions about, they being community members, job seekers, what is it really like to work in healthcare? There are going to be questions about vaccinations and immunizations, and we just have to find a way to package our information in a way that's digestible for any level, high school, college, and beyond, and to rebrand what it looks like to work in healthcare.
Thank you, Chanel. I'm hearing sort of a, perhaps like a speakers bureau type of project or activity for CHWC, which I know that Health and Medicine has one related to healthcare. I don't know how active it is. But and Chanel, you brought up that we need to see what these pathways really look like. So perhaps it's a speakers bureau of role models, not of us who work in HR, workforce development, but people who actually fulfill these roles, and perhaps getting together a group of people to pull on, and have CHWC sort of take on that lift of having this group of role models that can be deployed to career fairs or town halls or panels.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that, HR professionals help job seekers through the process. They assist hiring managers. But if you really want to convey the work and the culture of an organization, you need the people in those roles. And that's a heavy, even I think Betsy also mentioned the resources. So internal healthcare partner resources, that's a challenge. Generally, the individuals on this call are the individuals in their department making this work happen. There are multiple calls, multiple groups. So there isn't as much internal partner resources, but is that an area that CHWC can help? Giving I hate to say a body, but you need someone to move the work forward, even to plan and organize and execute something like a rebranding or a marketing tour. I'm not in marketing, but I know what I'm trying to say. It's like, we just, there's this perception about what it is to work in healthcare. And that was pre-COVID. But now it's post-COVID. And so it would behoove us to develop, I'm saying cohesive because we're saying as a collaborative, what do we want to talk about? How do we want to, pitch, hey, come work in this industry. We all need everyone in healthcare. But again, what does that look like? And providing as much information up front so people can make informed decisions. It's just like when you go buy a car, they give you all the bells and whistles up front because they want you to choose the car that's going to best suit your needs. And it's the same way, like what role is going to best suit your goals, your talents, and in what organization. It's not a competition, but every organization has something unique about them that is a niche for someone else. So this could be like a employer highlight. It can be position highlight. When you talk about position highlight, I would choose people that are entry, mid, and, have gone beyond that initial position to show the trajectory or to show where you can grow from being an MA. You kind of show that during that one presentation where a number of the medical assistant directors and policymakers are, they started out in the MA position. That's something to show how you can matriculate through this position beyond just the clinical need of an MA. It's a lot in this. I'm just throwing out ideas of how we can start somewhere to work together to highlight the opportunities that we have within the various organizations.
And if I may supplement those points, which are very important, with the fact that we are competing with other industries. I mean, with Amazon, that is advertising, scholarships, to colleges, or that the minimum wage right now is $18 an hour. And Amazon sounds like a cool opportunity. So we have to almost, I don't want to say rebrand, but position ourselves, the healthcare industry, as an appealing segment for professionals to join. And that will take a little bit of effort.
Yeah. Really good points. I wonder if some sort of marketing campaign out of CHWC could be impactful.
I think it's worth it. And yes, we are up against other industries that don't present the health risk that entering healthcare does at this moment that we're in now. So I think a rebranding is worth the effort. If we want to say rebranding, we have to use that term. That way our approach can't see the rebranding.
Chanel, your sound just changed. Sound like a robot underwater.
Oh, my apologies. I did air quotes with rebranding,
Okay.
but just highlighting healthcare in a different manner.
Yep. This is a really good conversation. We're nearing time, and I want to do one last thing before I open up the floor for anyone who has some announcements they want to share. I want to wait. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. I am launching a quick poll that should come up on your screen. I know you don't have very much background information on any of these ideas, but these are some of the other ideas that came out of those last two industry convenings. They're very rough at this moment. One is building a professional program so that will, for incumbent workers that actually aligns with a bachelor's or master's degree. One is basically going back to, what we've done before at CHWC, share data on hard to fill roles and high turnover, build programs. Another is to create some sort of endorsement or certification. And that could be around people who are in pathway programs, or it could be around other standards. And then the other is to support soft skills training for employees and employers. Again, not totally sure how that what that will look like, but thank you all for voting. It looks like building this professional program has a lot of interest, which is great. I think what I'll do is, in following up on this meeting, ask if anybody wants to join a follow-up conversation to unpack that particular idea, since we don't really have time right now. But thank you all. I think, let's see, how many people do we have here? I think almost everyone is, not everyone has. Okay, I'm going to stop talking and allow anyone who wants to just share a announcement or update on a program you're launching, on something that you want to partner on. Go ahead. No updates?
Good morning, everyone. Well, we're working on a career fair, I believe mid-October. Also, in an effort to increase our applicants, we have removed, for now on a temporary basis, the high school and GED requirement for our entry-level roles. Because we're seeing that that is a barrier for some applicants, and it could be a reason why we're not getting as many applicants for our entry-level positions. So that is something that we have decided to do. So right now it's temporary. Hopefully, if we get a nice turnout with, applicants for those entry-level roles, it will become permanent. So that's it.
That's great to hear. Thanks for sharing, Dana.
Hi, it's Mary from Midwestern again. We will be moving into our new Evergreen Park campus October 18th. We're really excited about that. So that's going to expand our ability to host more students for medical assisting and dialysis. We will also be rolling out a dental assisting program and a dedicated sterile processing program. We already have sterile processing as part of our surgical technology program. This will be a dedicated one-year program. So I wanted to share that with everybody. And if anybody wants an invitation to our open house, just ping me.
That's great. Congrats on the new opening, Mary. And it looks like on our poll, we definitely have the most interest in building a professional program. So like I said, I will be following up on that after this meeting. And if anyone wants to join a conversation to talk about that idea and what that might look like, thank you in advance. Any other last minute announcements? Anything to share with the group before we close? Okay, well, thank you all so much for being here on this Tuesday morning. I really appreciate your feedback on the mapping project and on the ideas that came out of the industry convenings. Feel free to email me about anything that we talked about today. I will be putting this recording on the YouTube channel and making the slides available. And you should probably expect another newsletter within the next week or two. Thank you all. Have a fantastic day and a fantastic week.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.